So I make a lot of videos breaking down the way men think, what it means when he does this, says that, how you should navigate those situations. And that's all well and good. And I'm going to continue to make videos like that. But I think it's very important that we also dive into your mind, your behaviors, how how a woman may find herself in certain situations and processing what she's going through, right? That can lead to certain decisions that she makes, and so on and so forth. And one thing I have to let be known is that unfortunately, as many women that do want love, deserve love, and I pray receive love, when love comes their way, it gets tough. All right. A lot can go wrong. A lot can be mishandled. And I'm not saying this again to ever make anyone feel bad. And I'm going to be real. As you watch this video, there may be certain points on this list that are a punch to the gut. Okay. But it's for your own good. I'm not trying to punch. It's more of a love tap. It might be a little tough love tap, but it's a love tap when I'm giving it. Okay. But it's for your good to help you understand the things you need to be aware of so that the same mistakes aren't made and the same cycles uh, the negative cycles are broken. Okay. And so today we're going to be talking about when you feel like you deeply love a man, when you feel like you're experiencing potentially a connection with this man, right? What you need to do and be aware of to give it the best chance at it as the best chance at moving forward and progressing and becoming something special. Now, this in no way means all the responsibility is on the woman. Not at all, right? The man has things that he needs to do as well. I'm just giving you enlightenment and instruction that will empower you because you can only focus on what you can control. Right. And again, as I mentioned earlier, I have seen many women get in these positions and it just goes haywire. Okay. So let's get into these things. So one of the first things you need to do when you feel like you deeply love a man is do not let fear get the best of you. All right. So when I say women have been in this position and things have gone haywire, the number one issue is panic, fear, running for your life. Okay. And the reason why this happens to so many women is many of you have gone through things in your life that you have not fully healed from, right? And it's understandable that these things have maybe made you more cautious, um, even project a little bit of negativity onto men and love and relationships, a little more skeptical of things, right? And there are some walls up. And there's also this great fear of being vulnerable because in that woman's mind, well, it was when I was vulnerable that I was devastated, I was let down, I was betrayed. The list goes on. So now, when you meet this man who you feel this intense love for, this connection with, it is scary. It is overwhelming. All right. It is nerve wracking because you don't even know if you can trust this. You're like, yo, like I've been wrong before, or I made some mistakes, and how do I know this is real? What I'm feeling? How now this starts to play in your head. Okay, how do I know that he's even being for real? How do I know he feels this way? And then God forbid you have other people around you, friends or family, who also haven't healed, and rather than pouring healthy, loving guidance into you, they're pouring more skepticism, more fear. Like, I don't know, you sure about this? Boom, 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 whatever, whatever. So, in so many of these scenarios, I've seen women pull back. I've seen women self sabotage. I've seen, like, you start to even develop in many cases this, he's too good to be true. And because he's too good to be true, it's like, no, something has to be wrong. And since you believe something has to be wrong, you start nitpicking on every little thing, trying to find something wrong. If you can't find it, you will try to create something wrong. Okay. And the minute he falls into that trap, it's like, oh, you see, there you go. Like you will set the trap for him to make a mistake that's understandable. But to you, it's like, oh, you see, that just shows I can't trust you. That just shows this isn't for real, whatever. And if none of that works, just flat out run. All right. And it's unfortunate. And there's so many stories. Again, one of the things you have to realize, because for some of you watching this has already happened to you. Others have not experienced this yet, right? And there's many of you who may think, nah, this isn't really happening like this, because why would a woman run from a real love and a good man and all these things? But what many of you don't realize is the woman who goes through this, in many cases, I'm not gonna say all, is hesitant to share that story from that perspective, meaning she's not going to her friends and family and saying, oh my gosh, I had the most amazing man and everything was great and I messed it up and I pushed him away and I did something wrong. Because one, she don't want to hear them talking about how could you do this? What's wrong with you? Well, she ain't trying to hear all that, okay? Right? And she's already struggling with herself to deal with it. And then I'm gonna have to throw this out there. What some will do as a method of making themselves feel better about it and making it easier for them to detach from the situation is create some kind of negative perspective of the man or highlight something in him that maybe wasn't that good and make it bigger than it really was to be like, okay, that's my validation as to why that one's supposed to work out anyway. But it's like, no, you're creating that scenario in your head. That's not the real issue here. Either way, it leads to a misrepresentation of a lot of situations. Therefore, a lot of women don't always hear these stories. And the dangerous part about that is when that woman who has not been told the real story ends up in the same scenario, she's not as well equipped to handle it because she doesn't know this is actually common. So for those of you watching this and has experienced becoming so afraid and paralyzed with your fear, I want you to know this is extremely common. Very, very common. Okay? It just doesn't get talked about enough. So I don't want you to beat yourself up, but I also don't want you to be like, oh, okay, well, it's common, so everybody doing it anyway. Like, no. We gotta fix it. We gotta fix it. But bottom line is, do not let fear get the best of you. If you are in this situation or find yourself in it, and that fear comes up, that is your signal that you have some things you need to heal from and release. And what I would encourage you to do is do not make any official decisions about the potential future of this relationship until you address that first. I would rather you be like, nothing wrong with putting a pause on it, right? And I'm gonna tell you in a second, in the next point, how we go about even putting it on pause. But don't just close the door. When you know something rose up in you that maybe you don't even understand and it's completely throwing you off, right? But it needs to be investigated first. And then if you go through that process and then after it you realize, oh, it wasn't fear. Maybe it was me recognizing there was a red flag and this wasn't for me. Okay, cool. Or now that we got it out the way, you can be like, no, this actually is the right man, or this is a man I have a real connection with, is genuine. And now because I resolve these things, I can move forward with more peace. All right. So now the next thing, or another important thing you need to do when you deeply love a man is be honest about how you feel. Now, I know some of you like that just made some of y'all uncomfortable, okay? Because I know how tough it can be to be in that position, to feel that intensity about someone, and then to have to let that all out. Because again, it goes back to the fear of what if they don't feel the same? What if that's too much for him and it runs him away? Which I always say, listen, if you being honest about how you feel runs a man away, then that just means that man either was not the right one for you or was not ready for that next level with you. Either way, you expose that by being open and honest. Holding back is only going to allow things to linger and not be properly resolved and handled. Okay. But either way, Expressing how you feel can be scary, can be very difficult. Also, what makes this step even harder is that many of you have been conditioned to believe that it's the man that needs to express himself first. Okay? That he needs to let you know how he feels. Excuse me. Now, granted, if I was speaking to the man in this situation, I would not be telling him, yo, wait for her to tell you how she feels. No, I tell him the same exact thing. Like, because again, it's about focusing on what you can control. And I'm gonna tell him, express yourself to her, let her know how you feel so that there's clarity on all that. But again, you can only focus on what you can control. So you can't focus on, well, he should say it first. No, because here's the problem. One, there's many situations where, especially when there's a real connection there, you can have both of y'all scared. All right. Now, he may not be as quick to run. And don't get me wrong, there are men who have run from the connection. But he may not be as quick to run. And the reason why, let me just explain this real quick. The reason why, contrary to what some of you may believe, the man isn't as quick or isn't as likely to run as the woman, though a man does run too at times, is because a man has less experience in his life of highly exposing his heart, so to speak. Okay? So, because men tend to be a little bit more emotionally detached, and even though they may have dated a couple different women, they may have never been into any of those women. So, they've never felt that level of intensity and vulnerability, right? So, because of that, they may be more willing to view this experience as, oh my gosh, this is something special and unique, and I want to explore it. The woman, even if it was a few wrong guys, right? There's a greater likelihood of her having experiences in her past where she overly exposed her heart. And when I say overly exposed, I don't mean that in a bad way. I just mean that, yes, she opened herself up to a very vulnerable place. And if it doesn't work out, those scars create a level of PTSD. So now, when she's in this new situation, she's already gone deep before. And she's like, yo, I don't know if I can handle that. Him, he's less likely to have done that. So he's more like, yo, let's do this. Okay. So this is why you'll see these dynamics where the man is more likely to want to push forward, but because he has less experience being that vulnerable, where he messes up in many cases is that he doesn't know how to handle and manage these feelings. He doesn't know how to navigate this whole thing, but he knows he wants to go there. He knows he wants to explore this, right? And again, and I want to highlight, this is when we're talking about a real connection, because there's other things that happen in these relationship dynamics, but we're talking about the real connection being there. Anyways, so going back to why it's so important for you to express yourself, if that man is scared too, you're scared, you'll have situations where no one's saying anything. All right. And again, I have multiple stories of people going on to marry someone else while having more intense feelings for this other person, whether they were a friend, acquaintance, whatever the case may be, but it just never got talked about. But they're still thinking about that person even while they're married to this new person. All right. It's a very messy situation, but it happens, and it happens a lot more than you think. I say all the time, unfortunately, I believe the majority of marriages involve someone who has deeper feelings for somebody else. That's a whole different discussion, but it's just a real thing. Anyways, so nobody says anything, it doesn't get resolved. Another problem with you not expressing yourself is that if you are aware that there's a connection here, or at the very least you are feeling something deep and intense, and you don't talk about it, you don't express yourself, well, then it weighs on you. And it can cause you a lot of emotional stress, drive some of y'all crazy. It's not helpful or healthy to suppress how you feel. It would be better, because even in the scenarios where maybe, let's just say, you're misreading things, right? By you expressing yourself, if you misread it, we can nip it in the bud. And as much as it sucks and it may hurt in that moment, you'll be able to move forward and move on the path that's for you. But if you don't say nothing, you end up stuck in this holding pattern the entire time, holding on to these deep, intense feelings with no clarity. And that is a very volatile and unhealthy situation. Not to mention, if you are, God forbid, wrong, it leaves you unavailable for who is for you. Okay? So, and I can give some more other reasons, but the bottom line is expressing yourself and being honest is going to be the healthiest, most helpful approach for you to take. Though it is difficult, it is best. Now, also understand this. I said earlier, I said earlier about pausing things. Like, let's say, all right, you meet this man, you're feeling this deep connection, it's scaring the crap out of you, and so you don't know what to do here. All right, this is where being honest and saying, listen, I'm scared. I'm not sure how to handle this. I need some time to figure this out. I need some time to go get some, third party assistance, whatever, to work through this. I'm not saying the door is closed here. I'm just saying I need to take a step back so that I can get myself together. All right. That's how we pause and we be forthcoming. Because here's the other problem that happens. The people freak out, right? Man or woman, but let's just focus on the woman for a second. She freaks out, she's scared. And rather than being honest about that, she starts acting different. She starts acting funny. She doesn't know how to deal with the situation. Maybe she doesn't answer some of his calls. Maybe she becomes more unavailable, not because she's trying to hurt him or ignore him. She just doesn't know how to navigate this right now. But on his end, this now triggers fear in him. This makes him feel like, well, maybe she's not serious about me. And he starts to mishandle stuff. He may react in a negative way. And I've seen this scenario blow up in people's faces, but it's all because fear is getting the best of them. So try to not allow that to be you and try to get to the root of the fear so that you can navigate this in the best and healthiest way. All right. So this might be hitting some of y'all hard, but let's keep this thing going because I think this is a really good video that needs to be heard. The next thing that you need to do when you deeply love a man is manage your expectations. Okay. So one of the unfortunate things that I've observed with a lot of women is this tendency to go off the deep end in fantasy with the situation. All right. And this isn't even when it's about deep love and connection. A woman can meet, and I'm not saying it's you, but there's a lot of women who can meet a man tomorrow and he's awesome and the date was amazing. And after one date, she's already imagining walking down the aisle and what the kids will look like and what color she's gonna have at her wedding and all this stuff, that kind of house they're gonna live in. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying you can't daydream. I'm not saying that you can't fantasize. I'm saying manage it. Manage your thoughts. Don't get too ahead of yourself, but also manage the expectations because listen, just being real with you, you can meet a man. Y'all could have the most amazing, intense, genuine connection. Literally built specifically for each other. And it doesn't work out right now. Unfortunately, it just doesn't work out right now. Now, does that mean it can never work out? No. And I'm gonna be real. Are there some scenarios where the two people just don't end up together? Yes, and there's various reasons for that. I'll say that for a different video. But the bottom line is, I cannot guarantee you just because you experience this intensity and this connection that means everything's gonna be fine. Not to mention, I can't guarantee that everything's gonna work out as far as y'all being together. I can't guarantee you that this man ain't gonna ever do something stupid. We'll get more into that a little bit later in the video. But the point is, like, you gotta be aware and understand there's still the cycles of life that we have to go through. There's still the reality of human nature and the flaws and the shortcomings of being a human being, right? And we all have some, somewhere, somehow. And two people being able to come together in true love. I wish it was just a simple, easy thing, but unfortunately, it's not. And it's not because one, there's a lot of lack of healing that interferes with that. But also, I feel very led to right now mention how I have this belief, this theory that you ever watch a superhero movie, and whenever a superhero arises, a villain must come. It's like the yin and the yang. It's this balance of life. And so I believe that when love arises, true love, resistance must come. Now, what you'll notice, at least what I've observed, is the resistance usually, when there's a real connection between two people, the resistance is coming from usually two sources. The source is either fear or outside influence. Okay? So it's either our internal battles and fears, lack of healing, all these things, or it is whether it be family interference, friends, whether it be the concern of where our locations right now. Like it's outside factors, but it's not really how you and that person coexist together in each other's presence. It isn't how you two interact with each other. Like that, it fits, it's just there. It's just, oh my gosh, it's like no other, right? But then it's all this other stuff that can start to derail and make things so much more difficult, right? I feel led to say this. Some of y'all ain't gonna like it, but it's really hitting my spirit. Man, let me just get this caveat and say this. I am in no way promoting infidelity. And ideally, I would love for no one to have to get divorced. But I'm not going to run from the reality that there's tons of people who married the wrong person. And there are tons of people who, while married to that wrong person, has experienced connection with someone else. We're not even talking they had it before but got married to someone else. We're talking they got married and while married experienced it with someone else. All right? Now, again, I want to be very careful here. I don't want, because what I said in the beginning, there are some scenarios where people are misreading the situation. Okay? So it doesn't mean automatic, oh, the minute you feel something intense, it must be connection and this automatically means you married the wrong person. Don't do all that. Don't do all that. Chill out. This is why, again, healing and deeper work is needed, right? But it happens. I'm just being real. It happens. Okay? And it's a very difficult position to be in. And man, I probably need a whole nother video for that as well. Because I'm literally thinking of very specific clients right now that I've dealt with this with, and I've seen it even just in the outside world and in general population. But anyways, the point is, getting back to managing of the expectations. Nothing's guaranteed. You gotta understand. It's not about how this is supposed to work out. It's about figuring out how you need to navigate it, right? And it's all about doing the best that you can, but understanding that in life, there's nothing guaranteed. Okay. But in my eyes, even if it's not going to work, it is better to love better to love and have lost than to have never loved at all. I use this analogy. If someone said to you, you can go have $10 million for the next 10 years, but after 10 years, I'm taking back the 10 million. Like you go back to wherever you were before the 10 million, right? Or you could just stay where you at for the next 10 years. Most of y'all will be like, yo, give me the 10 million for the 10 years. Let me have a great 10 years. Yeah, it sucks that I have to go back to where it is now, but I can enjoy myself in the meantime. That's the kind of way I look at love, in the sense of, like, I feel like so many people, they get so scared about, well, what if it doesn't work out? And what if it ends? It's like, well, enjoy it in the meantime. Those who are in a position that they can, okay? Enjoy it, experience it, feel the fullness of it, right? But yes, understand that nothing guarantees it'll never go away, because that's just unfortunately life. All right, we got a couple more to go. And so another important thing to remember when you deeply love a man is try not to sleep with him yet. Now, I'm laughing only because, unfortunately, for some of y'all, it's like too late. Already went down that path. But listen, hey, you know how it is over here on my channel. This is a no judgment zone. Even though we all understand that waiting till marriage is best, I also recognize that many of us don't make it that far. Okay, and I still have to address things from all the possibilities, right? But the reason why I said try not to sleep with him, we understand the spiritual part. I think most of us understand that standard. But let's just put that to the side for a second. We're not devaluing or dismissing it. We're just putting it to the side for a second. And let's look at it from this angle. If you sleep with him too soon, when you have these intense feelings, and you have not figured out, one, what's going on within you, you have not made sure that you understand how to navigate this, you have not, three, made sure he's even on the same page as you, well, the sex is only going to heighten everything. It's going to intensify everything. Okay? Now, some of you may have had experience where the sex killed everything. That's a whole different discussion, right? And I think there's various reasons why that can happen that don't actually speak to that wasn't the right person for you to move forward with, right? You know, some people have performance anxiety and all kinds of stuff. Anyways, again, different discussion. The point is that for you as a woman, for many of you, it's going to cloud your judgment. It's going to make it harder for you to deal with and navigate the situation. And more importantly, if things do not materialize into something serious, some of you may feel cheated, may feel used. Like, again, I'm not saying how you should feel. I'm speaking to the reality of how many of you will feel. And with that reality, excuse me, some of you may have that same attitude that I talked about with love, as far as, no, you're just happy to have experienced it, right? And that's your choice, right? If you know you're not going to have any regret, no matter how this thing plays out, okay, that's one thing. But if you know that sleeping with him, you're hoping for things to progress, right, and move to serious levels, and then they don't for whatever reason, you're gonna being left feeling cheated, used, devalued, whatever the case may be. That's not the step you need to take. That's why I always say, outside of spiritual standard, you should not sleep with a man unless you are prepared for whatever happens next. So it's like, if you sleep with him and y'all don't talk anymore, and you're like, I'm cool, I got mine, I'm good, so be it. That's your choice, okay? But if you are expecting more from it, then you should not be doing it, okay? But again, also, you just want to make sure that you are able to properly evaluate and navigate this situation without those extra layers. And let me tell you, I'm going to be real. When there's a deep connection, those extra layers aren't needed right now. Like, I'll say this. I have yet to meet a man and a woman who experienced this deep connection and they're like, man, I feel it, but we ain't have sex yet, so I'm not sure. Like, I haven't come across that. It's because it supersedes that. It goes beyond that. Okay, there's a quote I love to use: when the love is real, it goes so much deeper than the physical. All right, so be mindful of that. Be careful. All right. Now, if you already have crossed that line, because again, we're gonna be real. No matter how much I tell you to be careful, you might still do it. You know, one night you might have had one too many to drink, or maybe you have anything to drink. You just wanted to get it off, whatever. The point is, if that line has been crossed, just make sure you are clearing your mind in a way that you can, again, still see things for what they are. All right. So you're not letting the intimacy blind you further. Because listen, if that intimacy is an amazing experience, the intimacy alone will intensify things. If it's an amazing experience, well, that's going to take it to another higher even level of how attached you might feel to the situation. So just make sure, like, again, continue to be honest, be transparent, you know what I'm saying? Manage those expectations. Understand that none of this guarantees you anything. Like, if you follow the other steps, then I think you can still get through this fine. And some people will be fine, because for some people it will all work out. They'll end up getting married to this person. Everything will be great. Beautiful, beautiful. But we just don't know which way things will go. So just be mindful of these things. All right, so just got 2 more to go. And the next thing I want you to do when you deeply love a man is remember he is not perfect. Okay? So, one of the things that can happen is that when we experience this connection with someone, we're experiencing something that is so rare, and that causes us to put this person on, at the very least, a higher pedestal than we may have ever put any other person of the opposite sex that we were romantically interested in, right? But in putting them on that pedestal, sometimes we forget they're still human. And even though maybe up to this point, they've done nothing wrong, they've made no mistakes, they've been absolutely freaking amazing, it is unrealistic to think it will remain like that always. Not because they don't love you, not because they're not trying to do right by you, but simply because they are a human being. And again, as human beings, we all fall short sometimes. And you be with someone long enough, like, listen, you cannot find a couple who has been married 25, 40, 50 years, whatever, and they tell you, my partner has never made a mistake. My partner has never pissed me off. Like, that doesn't exist. What those couples learn how to do is manage, get through those situations. Now, some people just tolerating each other, that's a different discussion. But for the ones who are actually having a healthy, happy, long lasting marriage, they understand, like, don't let that moment get the best of us. Don't let that moment change the reality of how this person has been showing up this whole time. So, and you got to realize that as a woman, when you deeply love that man, you are going to be more sensitive to the things that he does or doesn't do. Like I always say, the man she loves most has the least room for error. All right. So, with that in mind, you have to catch yourself when you feel like you might internalize his mistakes a little bit more than usual. And that can lead to harboring some negativity. That can lead to triggering some fears if it hasn't been resolved. And this is the things that contribute to these situations where real love exists, where connection exists, but the state of being a human being and how we manage that can throw things off. Okay. So talk about things, discuss. Don't assume that just because he loves you, he's supposed to know better in every way possible. No, he may still lack an understanding of some of the deeper parts of you that he has to be aware of. He may still lack an understanding of the little details of how you like to receive love or how you like to be talked to and things of that nature. What his love for you expresses is a willingness to learn, to take it in, and then to implement it. Not that he will just know it on his own. Okay? So just know he's not perfect. He's not perfect, but there's a difference between a man who's not perfect and a man who's not worth it. And this guy, and the difference is the man who is not perfect is a man who may fall short sometimes, but he's always willing to work through things, try to be better, and move forward in the right direction. All right, and now last but not least, nothing you need to do when you deeply love a man is talk to God. All right, you know I'm gonna always point you back. Anyone who's been watching my videos long enough, you already know I was gonna point you back to God. Excuse me. So when we talk about connection, I'm a firm believer that connection is our spirit recognizing its match. And it is something that is happening beneath the surface. It speaks to the alignment that exists between you and that individual that God created and created for a purpose. All right. Because I don't view marriage as just two people coming together so they can just have some fun. It's like, yeah, they should be able to pour into each other and elevate each other's lives and make life better for each other. But it's also about serving a purpose, right? There is purpose in our individual lives, and there's purpose when we come together with an individual and share our life with them. And so, with that understanding, you got to include God in it. You got to make sure that you're talking to God, because talking to God is going to help you with all the aspects that we discussed today. It's going to help you with not letting that fear get the best of you. Now, again, does that mean prayer alone will fix it? Respectfully, no. And I say that not to dismiss the power of prayer. I'm just saying that it goes back to faith without works is dead. When you talk to God, it isn't just, hey, God, help me not be scared. It's, God, what do I need to do to remove this fear? And then taking God's guidance and then doing the work. That's the work that pours into the faith. So trusting that through God's guidance and having faith in Him, I can get over this fear. But there are going to be some steps you got to take. There's going to be some work you have to do. Okay. So talking to God so you don't, the fear doesn't get best of you. You know, allowing God to lead you in those moments where you're struggling to open up. And maybe by praying first, that will help get you to a place of peace to where your spirit will start to flow and you'll start to let things out that need to be let out. It's also in even recognizing, is this real? Is this someone that you're supposed to actually be entertaining? Or are you just getting caught up in the moment, attached for different reasons? Because that happens sometimes, right? So asking God, is that even the man for you or not? So either way, there's just so much that your relationship with God and getting comfortable with talking to and listening to God in prayer is going to help you with situations like this, and not just help you in the beginning, help you throughout the relationship. Because again, going back to that, he's not perfect. In those moments where your man may slip up or make a mistake, you have a natural inclination as human beings, we all do, to just react. But I always say, pray before you react, because God may provide you with a different perspective in that moment that allows you to not go down the wrong path here, that allows you to not retaliate with negativity and cause more problems, but instead address things or handle things in a way that's more loving and positive, that brings forth a happier, harmonious situation. Thank you for watching this video. I pray it was helpful to you. Be sure to watch this one over here on He's a Really Good Man if he has these 5 traits. Come up and read you and learn you in a way that you don't have to express things. And what I mean by that is, like, I've had women complain their man doesn't do anything romantic.